What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a talk show stage expecting a respectful conversation, only to be blindsided by accusations, mockery, and disrespect? In just 37 seconds, a simple question about his career turned into one of the most shocking confrontations in daytime television history. This is the story of how Kevin Costner, a man who has spent decades earning the admiration of millions, was pushed to his absolute limit by a host who seemed determined to tear him down in front of a live studio audience. The morning started like any other episode. The studio lights were bright, the audience was buzzing with excitement, and Kevin Costner walked out onto that stage with his trademark smile and that humble, down-to-earth energy that has made him a legend. He waved to the crowd, shook hands with the hosts, and settled into his seat, ready to talk about his latest project. But what he did not know was that Sonny Hostin had something very different planned for this interview. The conversation began innocently enough. Whoopi Goldberg, sitting at the head of the table, welcomed Kevin with genuine warmth. "Kevin, it is so good to have you here. You have been making incredible films for so long. We are thrilled you could join us today." Kevin smiled and nodded. "Thank you so much for having me. I have always respected what you all do here, and it is great to be here." Joy Behar jumped in next, her voice light and friendly. "So tell us about this new project. We heard you have been working on something really special." Kevin leaned forward, clearly excited to share. "Yes, it has been a labor of love. We have been working on this for about 3 years now, and I think people are really going to connect with the story. It is about family, legacy, and what we leave behind for the next generation." The audience applauded, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. But then Sonny Hostin, who had been sitting quietly with a strange smirk on her face, decided it was her turn to speak, and the entire tone of the interview changed in an instant. "Well, Kevin," Sonny said, her voice dripping with condescension, "that all sounds very noble. But let us talk about something real for a moment. You have built this image of being this all-American good guy. But do you not think that image is a little outdated? I mean, your movies, your whole persona, it all feels very, let us say, traditional. Some might even call it problematic." The studio went quiet. You could feel the tension immediately. Kevin's smile faded, just slightly, and he looked at Sonny with genuine confusion. "I am sorry. What do you mean by problematic?" Sonny leaned back in her chair, clearly enjoying herself. "I mean that your films often center on these male hero narratives. The cowboy, the protector, the savior. Do you not think that perpetuates certain stereotypes that we are trying to move away from as a society?" Whoopi shifted uncomfortably in her seat. You could see she was not expecting this turn. Sarah Haynes looked down at her notes, clearly trying to stay out of it. But Sonny was not done. Kevin took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "I think storytelling has always been about exploring the human experience. The characters I have played, whether they are cowboys or fathers or soldiers, they are flawed human beings trying to do their best. I have never tried to perpetuate stereotypes. I have tried to tell honest stories." "Honest stories," Sonny repeated, her tone mocking. "Is that what you call it? Because from where I sit, it looks like you have made a very comfortable career playing it safe, appealing to a certain demographic that, frankly, Kevin, is becoming less and less relevant." The audience gasped. This was not playful banter anymore. This was a direct attack. Ana Navarro, sitting at the other end of the table, tried to jump in. "Sonny, I think what Kevin is trying to say is..." But Sonny cut her off. "No, Ana, let him answer. I want to hear Kevin defend this. I want to hear him explain why he thinks his version of masculinity is still something we should celebrate." Kevin's jaw tightened. You could see the frustration building behind his eyes, but he maintained his composure. Sonny, I have never claimed to have all the answers. I am an actor. I tell stories. If you have a problem with the stories I choose to tell, that is your right. But I have never, in my entire career, set out to hurt anyone or push any agenda. I simply try to make films that move people. Move people, Sonny scoffed. Or keep them stuck in the past. Because that is what it feels like to me. Your films feel like nostalgia for an era that many of us are happy to leave behind. Joy tried to redirect. Sonny, I think we are getting a little off track here. Kevin came here to talk about his new project, and I think we should... No, Joy, Sonny interrupted again, her voice rising. I think this is exactly what we should be talking about. We sit here every day and discuss progress, equality, moving forward, and then we bring on guests who represent the exact opposite of that. I think our audience deserves to hear the truth. Kevin sat forward in his chair, his voice calm but firm. The truth? You want to talk about truth? The truth is that you have made assumptions about me, about my work, about my intentions, without actually knowing anything about who I am. You are sitting there judging me based on some narrative you have created in your head. I am judging you based on your body of work, Kevin, Sonny shot back. And your body of work speaks for itself. Whoopi finally intervened, her voice carrying authority. Okay, let us take a breath here. This is getting heated, and I do not think this is productive. But Kevin was not backing down anymore. No, Whoopi, let her continue. I want to hear more about how Sonny has me all figured out. Please, tell me more about who I am and what I stand for. Because apparently, you know me better than I know myself. The sarcasm in his voice was unmistakable. The audience was completely silent now, watching this unfold like a car crash they could not look away from. Sonny's eyes narrowed. You know what, Kevin? The defensiveness says everything. If you were secure in your work, you would not be reacting like this. The fact that you are getting upset tells me I hit a nerve. I am not upset, Kevin replied, his voice steady but cold. I am disappointed. I came here thinking this would be a respectful conversation, but instead, I am being lectured by someone who has decided to use this platform to attack me for reasons I still do not fully understand. Sarah finally spoke up, trying to defuse the situation. Kevin, I do not think Sonny meant to attack you. I think she is just trying to have an honest conversation about representation in media. Kevin turned to Sarah, his expression softening slightly. Sarah, I appreciate that, and I am all for honest conversations. But there is a difference between an honest conversation and an ambush. And this feels like an ambush. Sonny laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. An ambush? You are a guest on our show, Kevin. If you cannot handle tough questions, maybe you should not have come. Tough questions? Kevin's voice rose for the first time. You have not asked me a single question about my actual work. You have just made accusations and judgments. That is not journalism. That is not even good conversation. That is just you using your position to bully someone because you can. The word bully hung in the air like a bomb. Sonny's face flushed red with anger. Bully? Did you just call me a bully? If the shoe fits, Kevin said quietly. Anna tried again. Guys, come on. We are all adults here. Let us just take a moment and... No, Sonny said, standing up from her chair. I am not going to sit here and be insulted by someone who represents everything that is wrong with Hollywood. Kevin, you come on here with your cowboy charm and your humble act, but underneath it all, you are just another privileged man who cannot handle being challenged. Kevin stood up too, his height towering over the table. Challenged? Is that what you call this? Because from where I stand, this is not a challenge. This is a public humiliation attempt, and I am not going to sit here and be part of it. Whoopi stood up as well, trying to regain control. Kevin, Sonny, both of you need to sit down. We can work this out. But Kevin was already removing his microphone. No, Whoopi, we cannot. Because this is not about a disagreement. This is about respect. And I do not feel respected here. Joy pleaded, Kevin, please do not leave. Let us talk this through. Kevin looked at Joy, and for a moment, his expression softened. Joy, I appreciate you. I really do. But I cannot stay. Here, and pretend this is okay. He turned to the audience. I apologize to all of you. You came here expecting entertainment, and instead, you got, well, this. But I hope you understand that sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even when it is uncomfortable. Sunny was still standing, her arms crossed. So you are just going to run away? That is your solution? Kevin stopped and turned back to face her. I am not running away, Sunny. I am choosing not to engage with someone who has no interest in a real conversation. There is a difference. You know what your problem is, Kevin. Sunny's voice was shaking now. Your problem is that you live in this bubble where everyone tells you how great you are. And the second someone challenges that narrative, you cannot handle it. You are fragile. Kevin stared at her for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was measured and calm. My problem, Sunny, is that I expected better. I expected a professional conversation on a professional show. What I got instead was personal attacks disguised as social commentary. And that is not my fragility. That is your cruelty. The audience erupted in applause. Not everyone, but enough that it was clear many people agreed with Kevin. Sunny looked stunned, her confidence shaken for the first time. Whoopi stepped between them. Okay, that's enough. Kevin, if you want to leave, no one is stopping you. But I think we can all agree, this got out of hand. Kevin nodded at Whoopi with respect. Whoopi, you have always been a class act. I have nothing but admiration for you. Joy, Sarah, Anna, same to you. You are all talented, intelligent women, and I am sorry this happened on your show. He deliberately did not look at Sunny as he said this. He started walking toward the exit, but Sunny could not let it go. That's right. Walk away. Just like your movies. When things get tough, the hero just rides off into the sunset, right? Kevin stopped in his tracks. The entire studio held its breath. Slowly, he turned around one final time. You know what, Sunny? I have spent my entire career trying to tell stories that inspire people, that make them feel something. What do? You sit behind that table and tear people down. You call it holding people accountable. But really, you are just angry, and you are using this platform to spread that anger. So yeah, I am walking away, because I choose not to be part of that negativity. The applause was louder this time. Sunny's face was bright red, and she looked around at her co-hosts as if seeking backup. But none of them spoke. Whoopi looked uncomfortable. Joy looked sympathetic toward Kevin. Sarah looked down at the table. Anna shook her head slightly. You do not get to come onto our show and insult me, Sunny said, her voice cracking slightly. This is my workplace. And you do not get to invite guests onto your show just to attack them, Kevin replied. This is supposed to be about conversation, dialogue, understanding. But you turned it into a courtroom where you are the judge, jury, and executioner. I did not sign up for that. A producer's voice could be heard from off camera, saying something about going to commercial. But Kevin was already walking backstage. The cameras kept rolling, though, catching every second of this unprecedented moment. Sunny sat back down, her hands shaking slightly. Whoopi looked directly at the camera. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will regroup and continue with the show. But as the show cut to commercial, you could see the chaos on the set. Producers were rushing around. The audience was buzzing with excited chatter. The other hosts were talking among themselves in hushed, urgent tones. And Sunny sat there, isolated, realizing that her attempt to dominate the interview had backfired spectacularly. Joy leaned over to Sunny during the break, and although the microphones were off, you could read her lips saying something like, "That was too far." Anna was nodding in agreement. Even Sarah, usually the peacemaker, looked upset. Sunny tried to defend herself. He was being defensive. I was just asking legitimate questions. But Whoopi shook her head. Those were not questions, Sunny. Those were attacks. There is a difference. When they came back from commercial, Kevin Costner was gone. The empty chair where he had been sitting was a stark reminder of what had just happened. Whoopi addressed the audience directly. Well, as you can see, Kevin Costner has left the building. What you just witnessed was a very heated exchange, and emotions were running high on all sides. Joy added, I think we can all agree that things got out of hand. We invited Kevin here to talk about his work, and clearly the conversation went in a different direction. Sunny, still defensive, tried to justify her position. I stand by what I said. I think it is important to ask hard questions and challenge our guests. That is what journalism is about. But Anna cut her off. Sunny, there is a difference between asking hard questions and being antagonistic, and I think you crossed that line today. The audience applauded Anna's comment, which only made Sunny more defensive. So now everyone is against me? I am the bad guy for trying to have a real conversation? Sarah spoke up, her voice gentle but firm. Sunny, no one is saying you are the bad guy, but I think you have to admit that your approach was harsh. Kevin came here in good faith, and he left feeling disrespected. That is not nothing. Sunny looked around the table, seeing that she was completely outnumbered. Fine, if everyone thinks I was wrong, then I guess I was wrong. But I do not regret pushing back against someone who represents values I do not agree with. Whoopi sighed deeply. This is not about values, Sunny. This is about how we treat people. Kevin Costner is a guest on our show. Whether you agree with his work or not, he deserves basic respect. And today, he did not feel he got that. Can you understand why? Sunny was silent for a long moment. Finally, she said, I understand that he was upset. I understand that things got heated. But I also think that sometimes discomfort is necessary for growth and change. Joy shook her head. But whose growth, Sunny? Whose change? Because from what I saw, all that happened was a good man got attacked for no reason and decided he had had enough. That is not progress. That is just mean. The words just mean seemed to hit Sunny hard. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. The audience sat in uncomfortable silence, watching this internal conflict play out among the hosts. Anna tried to bring some closure to the segment. I think we can all learn something from what happened today. We can disagree with people. We can challenge ideas. But we have to do it with respect and dignity. Otherwise, we are not building bridges. We are just burning them down. The audience applauded again, and this time even Sunny could not deny the message. The show moved on to other topics, but the energy was different. The chemistry between the hosts felt strained. Sunny was quieter for the rest of the episode, contributing less, looking visibly shaken by how the situation had unfolded. Backstage, Kevin Costner was already gone. He had left the building immediately after walking off the set, declining to speak to producers or anyone else. His exit was not just from the stage, but from the entire situation. He chose to remove himself from an environment that had become toxic and disrespectful. The audience members who witnessed the confrontation were talking about it as they left the studio. Some felt Sunny had been too harsh. Others thought Kevin had overreacted. But most agreed on one thing. It was uncomfortable to watch someone being publicly attacked like that, especially when that person had done nothing to deserve it. Back on the set, as the show wrapped up for the day, Whoopi pulled Sunny aside. The conversation was private, But witnesses said Whoopi was stern, explaining that there are ways to challenge guests without making them feel attacked. Joy and Anna joined the conversation, both expressing their concerns about how the interview had been handled. Sunny, finally alone in her dressing room after everyone left, sat quietly, processing what had happened. The confidence she had felt during the interview was gone, replaced by a growing realization that maybe, just maybe, she had taken things too far. But publicly, she would continue to defend her actions, unwilling to admit that she had let her personal biases override her professional judgment. For Kevin Costner, the decision to walk off that stage was not impulsive or emotional. It was a deliberate choice to protect his dignity and send a message that respect is non-negotiable. He had spent decades in the entertainment industry, facing criticism, rejection, and challenges. But being personally attacked on a daytime talk show for no legitimate reason was where he drew the line. The moment he removed that microphone and stood up, he was making a statement. He was saying that no amount of publicity, no interview, no platform is worth sacrificing your self-respect. He was modeling for the audience what it looks like to stand up for yourself, even when it is difficult, even when it is public, even when it means walking away. The empty chair he left behind became a symbol of boundaries, a symbol of dignity, a symbol of what happens when someone decides that they will no longer participate in their own diminishment. Kevin Costner did not storm off in anger. He did not shout or throw things. He simply said, "I am done," and he meant it. In that moment, when he turned his back on that stage and walked toward the exit, he was not running away from conflict. He was walking toward his own self-respect. He was choosing himself over the spectacle. He was deciding that his peace of mind was more valuable than any interview or any platform. The confrontation lasted less than 15 minutes, but its impact was immediate and profound. It sparked conversations about how we treat guests on talk shows, about the difference between tough questions and personal attacks, about respect and professionalism in media. People took sides. Some defended Sunny's right to challenge guests. Others praised Kevin for standing up for himself. But at its core, this was not about politics or social issues or differing viewpoints. This was about basic human decency. It was about how we treat each other, especially when we have a platform and an audience. It was about the responsibility that comes with having a microphone and a voice. Kevin Costner walked onto that stage as a guest, expecting a conversation. He left as a man who had been pushed to his limit and chose his dignity over everything else. Sunny Hostin sat at that table, believing she was holding someone accountable. She ended the segment isolated from her co-hosts and facing backlash from the audience. The lesson from this dramatic moment is simple but powerful. You can disagree with someone without disrespecting them. You can challenge ideas without attacking character. You can have difficult conversations without making them personal. And when someone crosses that line, you have every right to walk away. Kevin Costner's decision to leave the View stage was not about being unable to handle criticism. It was about refusing to participate in a conversation that had become hostile and disrespectful. It was about knowing when enough is enough. It was about understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply remove yourself from a toxic situation. As Kevin walked out of that studio and into the daylight, he carried with him his integrity intact. He may have left the interview, but he did not leave his values behind. He showed the world that standing up for yourself does not always mean fighting back. Sometimes it means walking away with your head held high, knowing you did the right thing.